Hey, Tom Ferry, your coach. Welcome to Life by Design, your place online for ideas, inspiration, how to stay in action. The Olympics ended yesterday. Did you take the time to watch it? Opening ceremony, pretty intense. Wow, the USA versus Canada hockey, that was intense. Reflecting on that, though, I was really thinking about this morning and what I wanted to share with you. What does it take to be an Olympic athlete? I mean, can you and I operate at that level? The answer is absolutely yes. When you look at the core, though, the core of what really creates their success, it comes down to one thing: practice. Practice. Practice, practice, practice. 3 years ago, I was sitting in a seminar in Seattle, and sitting in the front row was this kind of young, aggressive, enthusiastic, big smile, passionate dude named Apollo Ono. And he and his dad sat there through the seminar taking more notes than anybody else. And at the break, I was introduced to him. Hey, this is Apollo Ono. And I'm like, wow, man, I've heard of you. You're like this Olympic rock star. Why are you sitting in a real estate seminar? And his response was, I was invited by a buddy of mine. I'm really loving everything you're saying. Everything you're talking about is the stuff that we do as Olympic athletes. He said, just minus listing, sales, and prospect. He goes, but it really comes down to, you ready for this? He said to me, and I quote, every day I have to follow a schedule. Every day I have to do certain activities that ultimately lead me to get one step closer to my goal. And every day I go through the mental struggle of, I'm doing this right now for 2 to 4 years from now. Could you imagine? We're asking you to make calls to your past clients in Sphere because you might be able to get a lead and close a transaction in the next 60 to 120 days. And we struggle sometimes to have our basic customers do just those little tasks. Think about what Apollo said. Every day I follow a schedule. Every day I have to do certain activities that lead me one step closer to my goal. If you read Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers, he talked about 10,000 hours. Do anything for 10,000 hours and you become a master. So I thought about this morning, thought about the Olympics ending, thought about that conversation with Apollo, thought about you. What have you dedicated 10,000 hours to in this business? Have you practiced your presentation for 10,000 hours? Have you gone out to the level that now when you sit down with customers, you're on autopilot. You're only there to serve them. You're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about what personality type are there? How can I help them achieve their goal? Are you looking at the subtle differences between the husband and the wife, or the decision makers in that situation? Have you practiced so much that you can perform at that level? Or are you still struggling and thinking about yourself when you're doing what you're supposed to do? What's the difference between that Olympic level and maybe, the average salesperson today? I think it all comes down to one word: practice. The most profound thing that Apollo said to me that day, when we were sitting there, we had lunch, and I actually ended up interviewing him in front of the whole crowd, which, was in Seattle. He's from Seattle. It was a fun deal. The most profound thing he said to me, we're sitting there in the middle of this, this lunchtime conversation, and I said, what did you do the day after, you won your first gold medal? And he said, I practiced. I went right back to work. He said it was a lesser day of practice. I only practiced for like 6 hours versus my typical, say, 8 to 12 hour day. So my lesson for you, or the thought for you on this fine Monday morning is, what's the change in your schedule? Are you going to book some time? Are you going to put it in as a reminder every single day? Are you going to practice for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes, for an hour? Will you video record your presentations so you can watch and analyze and look at the subtle little nuances of the way you move your body? When you look at a prospect and say, are you as convinced as I am that I'm the right person for the job? Warning. Congruent language, congruent tonality, congruent physiology, all those things are a must, and the only way you get good is practice. Schedule it this week. Have an awesome day. Talk to you on Wednesday. Remember always, your strategy matters and your passion rules.